Now let's talk about that MSME Day. The African Union today marking the 2023 World Special Day for Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises for MSMEs. According to a statement issued today by the African Union in Addis Ababa, the purpose of MSME Day is to provide an avenue to share knowledge, information that will support and build awareness towards the upcoming second annual MSME Annual Forum due in Niamey, in the Niger capital later in September this year. Let's talk about MSME Day in particular, that's sectors in Nigeria. Abisola Atitebi, who is a partner at PwC Nigeria. Good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Great to have you on the show. So what are your thoughts, I guess, broadly speaking, on today, which is dedicated to MSMEs?
Hi, it was good to be here. Can you hear me clearly?
Hear you loud and clear. Go right ahead.
Excellent. All right. So yes, it's World MSME Day, and it's a day to celebrate the achievement and the contribution of this very critical subsector to the economies around the world. It's a day to take stock of what government needs to do and what the achievements have been. It's a day to also, an opportunity to engage stakeholders, like you said, regulators, investors, on the challenges that this sector also faces. Again, it's also an opportunity to also look at the trending matters like sustainability, digitization, technology, and how that impacts this subsector. So it's a good day to celebrate.
Now, why do you think, growing a prosperous and virile MSME sector has been largely difficult for many African countries, including Nigeria? What are the headwinds that they're facing?
So if we look at the PwC survey report that we published in 2021, I mean, most of the headwinds there are largely what besides Nigeria, other African countries will also face. I mean, top on that list, if you'd imagine, would be access to affordability or affordable financing, right? Another thing there is also the misalignment of government policies at the grassroots level. So the idea is that, yes, you have a lot of economic policy, but are you then taking cognizance of the MSMEs who are basically small players in the economy? Another one is poor infrastructure. So because of the poor infrastructure, there's the cost of doing business is quite large in this market. So it also threatens their sustainability and their ability to actually last longer than they would envisage. Another one is multiplicity of taxes. So across the value chain, across the ecosystem, there's a lot of taxes levied at them, which sometimes they don't plan for. So that would also be another thing. Again, I would say is one of the headwinds is the fact that they're informal by nature. So because they're informal by nature, they're unable to determine the rules of engagement with regulator, with government, right? And that doesn't lend itself to their growth. Right? If they were formal, they would then have ability to actually air their own voice, and people actually listen to them. Government listens to them. So those would be the headwinds that I'll talk about.
Well, that's a lot of headwinds. I guess what new thinking?
A lot.
Yes. What new thinking and actionable approach, I guess, would you suggest to address those headwinds for the MSMEs?
I mean, the first one I would say, even for them as a subsector, is be conversant about the new things in their own subsector that is happening in other climes, right? And see how you can tailor that to your own business. Another thing again is to use technology to see how you can be efficient in delivery of your services, right? Social media is also a way to project yourself and market yourself. Another way another new thinking would also be trying to if you can digitize most of the processes that you have. Keeping good records cannot be overemphasized, right? And having a clear demarcation between your own personal business and your own personal finances and your business finances separate, that's quite key. It would be to stay on top of whatever subsector that you're in. Be conversant, be knowledgeable, and be open to innovate. Innovation also can come from client feedback. So if you have customers and you get their feedback, you're able to meet their needs, that would help you to check out what exactly you need to innovate. Feedback is a gift. MSME should actually have to take that on board.
Excellent stuff. The African Development Bank President, Akemi Additional, says that the institution itself is ready to support the establishment of a specialized entrepreneur bank in Nigeria. Well, what do you make of such a proposal, an entrepreneur bank?
I think it's a laudable one, quite encouraging for that subsector. It's something that you have in other climes to boost the growth of the SME, so it's very much welcome. What I would also suggest is that we need to look at why the funding arrangements we've had in the past have not worked and take the learnings from that to ensure that whatever we're doing now would have the right impact we want it to have. Another thing I would also want to say is that while it's a laudable idea, it's something that we need to look at how we can look at address the ecosystem. So it's not just looking at the MSMEs themselves. You need to look at the entire ecosystem. So the person who is providing storage for the farmer is also part of that ecosystem. The person who's providing management services, who is training people, is also part of it. So it needs to be an ecosystem approach, right? And there also needs to be transparency around the disbursement to people who qualify. There needs to be accountability. So if you do disburse this amount, you need to ensure that you have a way to ensure accountability. And you can use milestone funding. So if you get if you meet a particular milestone, there's an increase in funding that you get, which will motivate people to actually use those funds very well and achieve the impact required.
All right. I guess, MSMEs cut across several sectors of the economy. Are there any specific segments that you think the government should prioritize in order to scale up their contributions to overall economic growth?
I mean, all the sectors are important, right? All the sectors are important, and government needs data to actually determine which one they should prioritize. But if I sit here, I would say the three I think should prioritize is first services, right? It's a country of youths that we can turn into skilled workforce, right? Workforce for ourselves, workforce that we can also export to others, just like India. Another thing is agriculture. We have the inputs for that. We have the natural resources to build the agricultural subsector. Government needs to put in resources in there, and the idea is to ensure accountability. So if you need to put in, agricultural boards to ensure export, that needs to put in place. Then the last one, of course, will be manufacturing. We need to be a country that manufactures what we use and what we can sell to others. So it's, for me, services, agriculture, and manufacturing. Three of them kind of work together. So those will be my top three that government should prioritize.
Very, very engaging and informative conversation. Thank you so much, Abisola Atitebi, partner at PwC in Nigeria. We thank you so much for your time on the Arise Exchange. Do take care.